All right. Welcome everyone to the Friday Tech Talk. And today's special guest, we've got Travis Terwilliger, and he graduated from the Tech Academy in 2017. He is now a senior developer and is working at Salty Lake Media. Today's talk is going to be mastering the basics, essential skills for success in software development. He will cover the best way to level up your skills and how to build a strong developer foundation. You will also cover problem solving mastery along with teamwork and communication skills. Very important. Thanks for coming out today, Travis, and take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here to share my experience. I started at the Tech Academy in 2017. I did sales and like construction beforehand, didn't like it at all. And I always, like ever since the MySpace days, I would put together bulletins and stuff using HTML and CSS. So I really liked that world. And the wife kind of not convinced me, but pushed me to go do something that I really liked. So I ended up taking a very large pay cut actually to take the course. It's just what we needed to, had to move and everything. And what I liked mostly about the course was that it gave me an understanding of how this world works, how the tech world works. It's one thing that I think college is really good at is it gives you that mechanism in your brain to be able to disseminate information properly and understand logically what's going on under the hood. So they did a really good job at the beginning of the course and delving into that world and just kind of prepping you for instead of just you need to understand the syntax of things, how that world works. So it's one of the best parts of the course, in my opinion. It was well structured, had a lot of hands-on learning style activities that really helped. It did also help that I took the course with my brother-in-law. He's also a developer now, and we just sat next to each other every day and just plugged away at the programs or at the programming, and it helped me build a very strong foundation that I currently use, practices in my day-to-day right now. So currently I work as one of the lead developers for Salt Creek Media. We provide all of the technology for the parent company, and we have hundreds of clients. So something that we do frequently is we'll deploy one or two websites per week on a per client basis. And basically it's all geared towards online digital marketing and physical mail marketing. And we have to have a well understanding of our web server, the Linux environment. So I program primarily in Linux now and DNS. Again, touching back on the Tech Academy's course, it touched on all that stuff. So it's very, very good to learn. I think it actually kind of helped me get the job because I was able to speak somewhat of their very niche language that they're looking in a candidate. So I was able to take those skills I learned and translate it to my job now. And currently, we have to be kind of all over the map in a sense of you need to learn how to, you have to know how to program, talk to clients. So confidence is key, and that is something that the program helped me with. I was able to display that in my interview, and I also think that helped me get the job. And you have to be able to, on the fly, be able to pick up brand new things. Like Python was one of the courses at the Tech Academy, and coincidentally now we do a lot in Python. So just yet another stepping stone that the Tech Academy helped me with. And you have to be able to adapt quickly. Technology is always growing, always expanding, and that was something that was stressed in the course, and just being mentally prepared for that really helped. So currently, I actually only work in Python is the only language I worked in the course that out of all the languages it taught that I currently still work in. I actually work in the, like I said, the Linux environment, PHP, multiple different frameworks. But when it comes to like the front end stuff, jQuery, JavaScript, libraries like Bootstrap, CSS, HTML, CSS Grid, HTML5, all of that was covered in the course very, very well. So that was one of the things that as a new hire, I had to basically immerse myself in. Before we could move on to the back end logic and the core code, you had to be able to put together websites and whatnot. So very strong skills I learned at the Tech Academy. And again, I believe it helped me land the job because of that. And overall, I think the boot camp was a great experience. It gave me that foundation I needed to start my career, and I've been able to build on that foundation ever since. So very grateful to have the opportunity to have been a part of the program, and highly encourage anyone who's looking at getting their feet wet in this industry. It's definitely, in my opinion, uh, much better than formal college education. They teach you the skills you need to learn, and there's no fluff. It's you're directly learning exactly what you're going to be hands-on with in the real world. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Travis.
Perfect. What were the other topics that we wanted to touch on?
Just talk about kind of your what it was like for right when you graduated. I know you said that you already had the job lined up. Talk about how you got that job lined up as you were going to school.
Yeah, actually went. I know the program had kind of the employment portion where that was part of the curriculum where it was going to help you get the job and line up the interviews. I decided to start putting out my resume um, kind of prematurely, but it worked out for me. But because I did have the Tech Academy as education on my resume, I think that's really the only reason I got the call. And then I brought up some of my coursework in the interview, and I showed them all of the various topics and courses that it covered. And again, I think that's also why they gave me the job. But without a doubt, I don't think I would have the job currently if I didn't do the Tech Academy's crash course.
Got it. And talk about what your journey's been going from a newbie junior developer to mid-level and senior developer, and kind of the steps you did for getting to where you are now.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, the one of the first things you kind of have to do the grunt work. It's the tedious, repetitive. At least at my job, it was a tedious, repetitive front end development. The stuff now that you could probably have ChatGPT just generate. It was all that stuff that I had to work on over time. The individual who there's two people who taught me. One of them's no longer at the company. The other one's still there. They would just slowly impart their knowledge onto me and allow me to work on other things. Like I think at one point they were like, "You're not ready for MongoDB. It's an enterprise level database that we use." And eventually I got the keys to that. But understanding how databases work in general, like MySQL, I think was one of and SQLite, those were two of the databases that we touched on in the course. And sorry, it was a long time ago, so I'm just trying to remember. Um, yeah, you just have to do the grunt work, and eventually you'll be delegated more responsibilities. You have to be confident, very confident. The only reason that I was able to get up to the level I am now is because I was very willing to do the conversations with clients and very willing to do the onboarding, very willing to do some of the work that no one else really wanted to do. But as a result of that, I'm able to work on much larger projects. We have integrations with many different CRMs. We integrate with like Salesforce and Lead, Mailbox, a fourth CRM. You have to be able to, on the fly, be able to pick apart documentation that was exposed to me very early on in the program, how to disseminate information like that. Currently, I do still do some of the work, some of the grunt work that nobody really likes to do, but it's just because we have a team of three. But as long as you're a go-getter and you really try your best to understand what you're being taught at the Tech Academy, you're going to do well. Um, I don't think I'd have my job without the Tech Academy, so I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, and that's what we're here for. And we really do. And it's one of the reasons I joined the Tech Academy myself was the first couple of courses that cover the computer science aspect. I didn't see that at any other boot camp. And that was something that, I thought would definitely make me a better developer. Most boot camps, if you join them, they're like, okay, here's JavaScript, learn it. This is the syntax. This is how you set it up. And this is how you create your programs. So there's no real, it's all just practical, and there's no real, science foundation behind it, which the Tech Academy does have. And those first couple courses were still a couple of my favorites. And they are good for setting up the foundation for learning to code. Talk about some of the things that you do for continued learning. So, and kind of some of the habits you've gotten into, not necessarily work, but just to keep your skills sharp, to improve your skills, and to, as you said, learn the new technologies are always coming out. What do you do to keep up on that?
Yeah, I have a rule of thumb. If something is really hard to do, it's probably the right thing to do. So if there's something that looks difficult, you probably should try it. Give yourself a challenge. It only benefits you. So for me, even if it's something I don't like I didn't like learning C++ at all. It was we have a couple scripts that need it, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form an expert at it, but I know enough to get by. There's endless ways to teach yourself, especially now with AI. I mean, you could drop in something and say, how does this work? And it will give you a detailed explanation. So really it starts with being disciplined enough to push yourself to do something. So when my former boss left, all of his responsibilities were dumped onto me, and I was only about a year in. And he went to college, and he, in my opinion, I think to this day, probably a much better developer than me. I had to take over all of his responsibilities like instantly. The owner of the company was like, "I think you can do it," and he just put it all of it on me. But I'm grateful for that because while it was scary and it was very stressful, I learned probably about a decade's worth of stuff in the past 2 or 3 years, just because I had to. So push yourself to do something, to do things. If it's hard, it's probably the right thing to do.
And I think kind of speaking of pushing yourself out of the comfort zone
Yeah.
and really just kind of diving into it, and pushing yourself to learn it, and know that it is really uncomfortable at first, but once you do it for a while and you learn it, then it does get a lot more comfortable. So
Right. And also be open and honest. I have no problem. Like if somebody says, "Do you know how to do this?" Even if it's something easy and I just don't know how to do, I'll never say I can do it. If I don't know how to do it, I be open and honest. I don't know how to do it, especially in this field. I think a lot of times people like pad their resumes. Like we've looked at many people. We've been looking at hiring people in the past, and we'll look at their resumes and then we start getting into the nitty gritty of how, okay, explain how this works. And a lot of times they'll fail to do it just because they think they want the job. So they'll kind of pad it up a little bit and say they know more than they do. Really bad idea. There's nothing wrong with saying you don't know how to do something because very easily you can learn it. So hard work, determination, you're your own worst enemy if you don't push yourself to do things that push you out of your comfort zone, and just be open and honest with what your skills are and what you can and can't do.
yeah, no, that's some really good advice. Definitely be honest. And, if you're in an interview and somebody asks you to do something that you haven't done before, you don't know how to do, I wouldn't try to fake it. I would definitely, just let them know, hey, I haven't done this, but I can learn it quickly. And that's kind of the best way to go with those kind of things that come up.
Right.
What do you see with artificial intelligence and how that's going with development, and what do you see with the future with that?
It's a game changer for sure. It makes like one of the greatest things I use AI for is commenting my code, because I want my code to be commented, but I don't want to take the time to sit there and type out line by line. I already wrote the code. I don't want to have to explain why I wrote it and what it is. So it's great for that. But you really got to be careful with it. Like you can't just ask it, give it a situation and say, I need, generate me a block of code to do this. Because if you don't consistently have hands-on practice with your skills, you're going to lose them no matter what. It's like everyone says, you never forget how to ride a bike. Well, I mean, there are ways to very quickly lose your skill in understanding about things that you've taken the time and force yourself to learn. If I stopped, like with PHP 8, the latest release, if I stopped sitting down and actually writing it and thinking and getting those gears working and just had AI do it, which very easily could do it, you're gonna learn. You're gonna completely forget how to do it. And if you don't have AI down the road, then you're out of luck. So I think it's a great, amazing time to be alive. AI is really wild and it's very useful for a lot of things, but I would not use it as a crutch constantly. I would use it sparingly, and that would probably be only for tedious tasks like, oh, I have an email, I'm going to type it out and maybe make it sound more professional. Totally fine. Comment my code for me, totally fine. I would still review the comments and make sure it's accurate, but having it do your job for you is and number one, you're programming yourself out of a job, and number two, you're going to lose the skills because you're not actively participating in getting your brain working.
Well, and I think it is. I think it is really good for learning. Also, if you're wanting to learn about APIs, or say you're creating a program and you want to implement an API into your program, you can ask it to show you how to do it, but you can also have it explain how it works. And for me, that helps me when um, when I'm learning something new or I haven't done something, then it will explain it to me and it'll give me really good steps on why this is how you set up the API or the program, and this is the best way. So
Right. Yeah, it's one of the best things about working with others in an office is if you're stuck, I would just call one of my colleagues over and say, "Can I just read this to you and tell me, maybe let me know why it's not working?" And as you're reading it to them, you find the error.
yeah.
It's a good tool for that. If you have a syntax error or if something's not working, great to lean on. I work from home now, so I don't have colleagues that I can just sit down next to and say, "Why isn't this working?" Or can I get eyes on this? So it is really good for troubleshooting. But yeah, having it write the logic for you, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, no, definitely good points. Now, what are some of the things you did for mentorship after graduation? Did you just have the colleagues that you work with, or did you have some meetups you went to, met some people for mentorship, that kind of thing?
Um, pretty much just learning hands-on. I'm more of a hands-on learner. I'm terrible at tests, terrible. I don't really read books at all or anything like that. Don't really, that's not how my brain works. Do it with my hands. If I'm hands-on, I will get really good at it. But pretty much everything I learned, it was at the Tech Academy, of course, but also in my position. So I would just lean on other developers and learn tips and tricks from them. The great thing about my job now is really flexible. I mean, myself and my two other colleagues in this division were able to, if we wanted to write a brand new application, we're like, you know what, let's mess around. Why don't we? Let's write this in Rust. We have the freedom to do that. That's very unique. My job's very unique in that sense. A lot of it's good and bad. It can be the wild, wild west sometimes. Like if I wrote something in an obscure language and then I quit, then my colleagues would be in a tough spot. Most companies, especially larger companies, are going to have a very, very specific predefined set of tools. But here, I'm able to kind of learn what I want when I want. So it's really all hands on for me. I have been fortunate enough to work with a couple of other wonderful developers, and they have been kind enough to impart their knowledge upon me. So I'm grateful in that sense as well. But mentorship is good. Talking is good in general. Speaking with people is good. It helps you grow as a person, it helps your brain grow, and it helps you learn things you didn't learn. I've learned endless Linux commands from our DevOps engineer. He just kind of lives in that. He eats and sleeps and breathes that language. And he's taught me so many old school tricks and really how to use this operating system to the best of its ability just from talking to him. It's like, oh, did you know you could, type in this one small command? It's like, yeah, I didn't know that. Now I do. So speaking with people, getting mentorship, very, very valuable and highly recommend it.
Yeah, and it sounds like he was a good mentor for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
we still work. I was just on the phone with him right before this. Great guy.
right on, right on. And most of you will, when you start your jobs, you will be on a team, It could be a very small team, could be a larger team, but you will have people that are going to help you, and they're going to show you a lot of tricks and things that developers do to, make themselves efficient and to learn new things. So when you're going to learn a new language like Rust and a new technology, what is it? What are the resources you use for that?
I usually go straight to the source online. I really like frameworks though. We use Cake PHP for most of our applications here. Frameworks are great. They have everything built into them so that you don't have to write your own security. You don't have to write your own middleware or anything like that. But for me, like with Cake PHP, I just go straight to the documentation. It's pretty clearly outlined. There's usually a tutorial, and it's just practice. So instead of copying, pasting code, even if I've typed it out 1,000 times and I know exactly what to type, I try not to copy paste. I type it myself. With new frameworks, I do leverage AI for that. So ChatGPT, I'll use all the time. If I don't understand a line of code, I'll drop it in and say, please explain exactly what this does and why it does it. And then I'll type it out myself so that I get used to the keystrokes and that's the syntax of that language.
Yeah, no, that's some good learning advice, and you are a docs guy. That's cool.
Yeah, that's this. I can't. There's a saying about it. I think it's I think it's a bad saying actually, but just read the documentation. I have my DevOps engineer, he gave me just stacks of books. So any language we use, I have a book on it, and anything you need to know about any language is going to definitely be directly in the documentation. Might take you a little longer to find, but it'll be directly in the documentation, and everything you need to know is right there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And documents are important, and I do like to refer to them. A lot of times they can be lengthy, but you get better and better at searching for what you want just with some practice. All right, and just to let everyone know, if you do have a question, you're welcome to throw the question into the chat in the bottom right, and I will pass on the questions. Looks like Joy does have a question in the chat. She says, you mentioned you're working with a lot of clients right now. How do you confidently approach challenges that come with lots of projects? And how do you break down complex tasks into manageable steps?
So there's two sides of this. The first one is we have clients that are onboarding and they need to look at our documentation and get used to our systems. But a lot of what we do is we integrate with other people. So since we built all of our applications from the ground up, every single line was written by myself and two other developers. We really we really know exactly how these systems work. So that part's really easy. If it's them and we're integrating with them, I let them talk. And anytime I can drill down on the question, I'll do it. If they say something that, and this goes back to, it's always a bad idea to not ask questions and to assume you might know more about the topic or you might know more about what they're teaching you. If you have even an inkling of kind of fuzzy on that, in this industry, you can't just say, yeah, I think I can make it work. You really take that opportunity to drill down and say, I'm not quite understanding. There's no shame in saying you can't understand something. If they're telling you you need to do this, this, and this, you don't understand two out of those three steps, really have them explain it to you in detail. On the other side of the coin, I do the same thing. I assume that they need to be taught start to finish on how our system works. So I might overshare sometimes, or I might dig in too deep, but I really try to give everybody as a deep dive into how our systems work so that they are set up for success. And that also limits, the threads and the emails being extremely long on the back and forth and the extra additional phone calls. Just do everything up front, do it right the first time, do it right once.
All right, no, sounds good. And building off that, tell us a little bit about what Salty Lake Media, what they're about and what they do.
So the parent company is a mail house, and it's one of the larger mail houses in the country. If you got in junk mail, it's probably printed at one of our facilities, and we do all of the technology infrastructure that supports it. So we have an online application called the job board. People log in there and they work with a team of coordinators. They get their jobs up. The coordination will get the job to the building. They work with graphics design department, with the data department. They get the campaign put together. They get it off to the USPS, and that gets sent to you. The technology is the board itself, and then we have a lead management system. Lead management is where mass quantities of data is stored, and we run things like Pearl websites. So a Pearl website, if you've ever gotten a letter in the mail, it'll say like your name, like john.something.com, and that is what we build. So whenever we have a new client come on, they usually want to put a Pearl on their mailer, and we build them the website. We have hundreds of clients and hundreds of templates now. So it's pretty quick and easy. We recycle the same templates, and we'll customize it a little bit for that client. You get the letter in the mail, you put in your offer code, your email, you fill out the form, and then you get a call from the company that is soliciting to you. So I see a question here. I'm curious how much your job is maintaining existing customers and day-to-day issues, or is it your job more focused on more/new customers? Yeah, so we're definitely understaffed. I've got 150 open issues on one application. I've got 20 open issues on another. We've got like 6 or 7 applications that we maintain. A lot of it is maintenance, and a lot of it is having meetings with clients for onboarding. We could use another few developers for sure, but we're limping along just fine right now. It can be stressful, but since we have the privilege of working from home, I'll usually put in like 60 hours, no problem. I was working last night from like 9 p.m. to 1 on some other side stuff, but for my employer, it could be a bit much. But as far as the ratio between maintaining existing customers and day-to-day issues, it's probably 70% customers and 30% trying to knock out issues and doing maintenance. On top of that, we always have new features coming out. I'm working on one right now that is like a pricing matrix, pricing module for our system. We don't have really a super efficient way of getting invoices out. So right now we're hooking into a couple of our separate applications, and we're tying them together, and we're trying to have this overarching project that's to merge everything into one application down the road. But I rarely get time to work on big projects like that. Most of it is maintaining existing customers.
Got it. And so what are some of the skills that you learned at the Tech Academy that you still use to this day? I mean, you took Python, you took C#, you took SQL database. Did you take PHP back in the day?
No, I learned PHP at my current job.
Okay. When I first came on as a student, this was 2016, PHP was an option. So
Yeah, I think it might have been touched on in the course. I know it was Windows based, which I don't program in the Windows environment anymore. I'm purely Linux. But I remember most of the way through the course, something just kind of clicked in my brain, and I think that is what. And I'm not trying to make an assumption, but I think that's what the course is kind of geared towards. Because in college, I have a couple of colleagues that went to college, and it took them a couple years to get that mechanism to work properly in their brain. And then it's like, oh, now I understand multidimensional arrays, and now I understand all the weird, things that can happen in the programming world. Something just clicks, and that clicked for me during the course after a few months. And I was able to kind of, at my job, when I got my job, I was able to kind of easily, quickly understand a lot of the syntax. Even if it was a language I didn't quite understand, you'd be like, oh, okay, I understand that, the sanity check there. Okay, and you can kind of follow the logic, and then it's just hands-on experience after that.
yeah, the structures and just the basic logic is all the same with coding.
Yep.
And it's just, learning the syntax, and, they're used for different things, but yeah, it's pretty, it's why it's a lot easier to learn a new language once you've learned a couple. Then it usually comes pretty quickly.
Yep.
Now, with the company, have you been part of the hiring process for new employees?
Yeah, we've interviewed, I think only a handful of people past 8 years. We're still on the fence about if we're going to bring somebody on, but when we did interview, the first one was really awkward because it lasted like 8 minutes, because I don't think any of us had really interviewed many people before. The second, third, and fourth one were a lot better because instead of just asking them questions, we wanted to stress like, look, this is a 6 month onboarding process, and not to make us sound inefficient or anything. It is tough with just 3 developers. We have a lot of, I mean, it is definitely a hodgepodge of many different things. I mean, we've got some like all of the scanning stations, like scans, those are Raspberry Pis that we hand built and we programmed and got them up and working to interface with our applications, and we ship them off to, the warehouses in Baltimore and in Texas, and they mount them on the wall. All of that, everything that we do is all very, very specific and niche. So bringing a new employee on would be at least a 6 month learning curve, if not longer. And you don't have the benefit of shadowing somebody in the office. You would have to do like long form web calls and pair programming over like an app, like an IDE, like PHP Storm that allows pair programming. But the interviewing process, yeah, it can get awkward, especially if you don't know the right questions to ask. But we started digging into, okay, let's give them, not to scare them off or anything, but let's give them a really realistic painting of what this career is going to look like and what we expect. So it turned into like an hour-long interview down the road. It's just basic conversation too. Likes, dislikes, interests, because it comes with skills, but also comes with the character of the person. So you kind of have to cover everything.
Got it. And what advice would you give somebody who's preparing for the interview and somebody who's possibly going to work with your company?
I think in interviewing, I think a lot of people sit down in an interview and the thought is, oh man, I really hope I get this. I better, not say the wrong thing, or I better say the exact right thing. And that's really not the reality of it. An interview is them making sure you're a right fit for them, and you also need to make sure that they're a right fit for you. So I would ask, it might be, I don't know if this is good advice or bad advice, but I almost ask twice as many questions as they ask me. Like I've had people like, all right, interview's over. I'm like, well, I have a lot of questions for you. This is a two-way street. This isn't just, I hope I get the job. This is this going to be the right place for me? So I always ask things like, what's your employee turnover rate? What's your growth look like? How many people have you put on? How many people have you let go? What's the overall goal of the company? What's the overall goal? What's our goal at the end of the day? What is our goal as a division, or what is our goal as a team? Always ask those questions every single time. Number one, it shows that you're interested, and it makes the interview last a little bit longer, which is good. You'll probably leave more of a lasting impact on the interviewer. And again, it's not just about, hey, I finally got a job, or hey, I might get this job. Is it the right job for me? And there's a lot of things that can be a deal breaker. If I sit down with somebody and they have a really high employee turnover rate, I'm not going to take that job, because I don't want to be one of the employees that they get, and do you give raises? Are they merit-based raises? Are there cost of living raises? Things like that. You got to make sure it's a good fit for you, rather than, hey, I finally just got a job. Is it I got a job, or is it I got the job? And you want the job, not a job.
Yeah, really good points there. And the key is finding a right fit for yourself also. Mm-hmm. So the company will see if you're a right fit for them, but you want to find the right fit for you. That's what you're looking for, not just salary, but just what the community at the job is, what the people, how the team is structured, and kind of what their goals are, and see if it fits with you.
Right.
No, good stuff.
Is just fun projects that you can do by yourself. Endless things you could do. I'm working on a light switch. That's like a floor plan light switch where you can touch any room in the house and it will turn the lights on and off in that place. It's basic Python, using Python and tkinter, I think is what it's called, and just a Raspberry Pi. So have fun at home. Do home projects. If you think of a really cool, realistic idea, maybe an app idea or something, just try it out. Have fun. That also pads the resume a little bit and gives you more hands-on real life experience just by having hobbies and projects at home.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. And you'll have those projects at home, but they'll really help you with your skills as a developer and skills, just in technology in general. So highly recommend those. Raspberry Pis are great, simple little things, but they can do a lot. They can do a lot, and they can be really great for learning. Are you somebody that sets up the Christmas lights every year with the Raspberry Pi? So, and you got the music playing and the Christmas lights?
No, no, not that. Not I haven't got that far just yet, but maybe one day.
Well, that's what I hear. Most of those setups are done with like Raspberry Pis or Arduinos.
Yeah, yeah, you
And
can. There's endless things you can do with them.
yeah, so cool stuff. Gab, do you have any questions?
Can you hear me? Oh, well, mostly my
Yeah.
question is just when I heard Raspberry Pi, like, how are you able to get your hands on one? Because right now there's still a shortage of, Raspberry Pi.
I can tell you
Oh, I
Because
have
mine.
a, yeah, I have a bunch. We've purchased a lot of them at our company, and I've purchased a lot of them myself. I You never know where you're gonna need one, so I think I have like maybe 7 or 8 of them laying around. And whenever I
uh,
need, want to do a project or something, I'll just bust it out and start working on
well,
it.
I guess that explains the shortage.
Yeah, there you go.
And looks like Joy has a question, another question. What essential soft and technical skills should Tech Academy graduates master to be well prepared for a career in software development?
I think the most important thing is learning the fundamentals of the industry. It's not any syntax can be learned, any language can be learned. Just like he mentioned earlier, is when you learn one language, for the most part, you're going to have. So it's like when you are hearing somebody speak Spanish, you can pick up. Like my wife, she speaks Tagalog, and the similarities between Tagalog and Spanish are very similar. The same thing with syntax. You can pick up on stuff pretty easily. So that all can be learned. It's learning how it all works under the hood is really important. Learning how a computer works, learning how the operating system works. As long as you can leverage that and learn that, you could pretty much do anything. Learning in that specific language, I don't think is as crazy as important as learning how, you touch a computer every day, learn how it works. I think that will get you, I think that will get you a lot further than, I'm going to learn C sharp and I need to become an expert at C sharp. It's like, well, maybe you should learn how C sharp works, and maybe you should learn how the computer that you program on works before you start diving into the syntax, because that part I think is actually easy.
Yeah, no, it's another good point. And there's lots of aspects to technology. And you can learn languages and learn how they work and, learn that the logic, but, really kind of diving into technology and learning other aspects of technology from, the operating system to networking and that kind of thing will really help your skills and really help you, in your career as well. So cool stuff. And it can be a lot of fun. So
Mhm.
that's definitely really good points. Um, so Gab, was that you that put that in the chat? I don't
Yeah,
know what an ESP32 is.
it's just a smaller microcontroller, a little bit less powerful than Raspberry Pi, but it does almost the same thing. Can also connect to the web. You can do IoT with it. So yeah,
Got it. Do you have you seen Arduinos?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And does anybody else have any questions? No, I guess that's it, Travis. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Travis, we really appreciate you coming out today. And it's always good to hear from our graduates and what their story is and what they did after they graduated. And we definitely would like to have you back at some point. That would be great.
Yeah,
And
thanks. Sorry if I droned on a little bit here and there.
yeah, no
I
worries.
talking sometimes, so sorry about that. Sorry if it was boring too.
No, it's not boring. We're technologists. We're developers. It's not boring.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Gab, did you have something to add?
Yeah, so for all of our audiences, so for our graduates or anyone who's really interested in attending a Tech Talk, we do have Tech Talks every Friday. So that's 1 p.m. Pacific. And we also have other events. So we also have the free classes. We'll have one later today. And for our graduates and students, we have the accelerator. So all of our graduates and students are entitled to a 3-month free access to the accelerator program. So just watch your email for the links that you can use to sign up. And the Tech Talk for next week will actually be an introduction to the celebration of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And our speaker will be Eric, our co-founder, and he'll be talking about a topic in cybersecurity.
Awesome. Should be really good. We look forward to that. And yeah, tune in next week, same time and same channel. And we do have our Tech Talks every Friday, as Gab said. And they are definitely really informative and really good for, especially somebody new to the industry. So I want to thank everyone for coming out, and we'll say thanks to Travis again. I'll say thanks to Travis using Salamat. I'm sure he knows that. So yeah, good luck to you in the going into the future, Travis. And if you need if you're looking for anyone to hire, definitely let us know.
Will do. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Have a good weekend, everyone, and we will see you all later. Thanks for coming out.